The number one thing that you have to have going in a new farm, this is the prime story that you're asking me, is I bought a farm in Missouri and I didn't hunt it for 3 years. So I love the aerial, but the habitat was bad. The food was horrible. There were some deer there, but not a lot. And so I'm like, okay, if I create the habitat, I create the food, it's in the right area. It looks bucky, but there wasn't a whole lot of animals there. So I went in there, created the habitat, built the food, and I didn't hunt it until year 3. So I let it sit for 3 years.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying is most people don't have the patience to do. And that's what we do, is we focus on the habitat. And sometimes it's you're not going to hunt them for a year or two. And that's a hard thing to swallow. But at the end of the day, it ramps up those farms, and it's amazing what they'll do.
So let's talk about that farm in more detail. So the habitat wasn't very good. The food was horrible. So just lay out maybe a rough size of the parcel and what it looked like if you had to describe.
It was 240 acres. And they had some really thick cover, like cedar thickets beyond thick. I mean, I couldn't get on my hands and knees and walk into it. So people say cedar thickets are a positive. I asked one question when you say that, and I'm going to get a debate with somebody, and I'm going to get a DM out of this, and that's fine. But this is my opinion. Everybody has their own right to their opinion. But if you go into a cedar thicket that's super thick, that you have to get on your hands and knees to get through, you tell me how much deer traffic's in there. Do you see any beds, and do you see any tracks? I don't. And so that tells me they're not using it. So it's wasted property. So what you do always, you go in there and clear it. You cut them down, get some warm season grasses in there, burn them a year later, get some natives coming up. And all of a sudden you got deer bedding in there like thieves. And then this place didn't have any food at all. And so we started scratching out spots, strategic locations, and we focused a lot on clover because it'd be a year-round food source. And it was, clover is typically 18 to 22% protein. So that's going to be their highest food source that you can do. So we would just go in there and plant, 3, 4, 5 acre food plots, enough that I had no intentions of ever harvesting for those couple of years, but I wanted to make sure they had enough tonnage to get through. And so that's what we did, and just stayed out of there. And so it had the water. So the water was there. It didn't have really good habitat as far as cover and bedding. And so we created the food, and then walked away. And then watched the trail cameras every year. And said, okay, the first year was bleak. The second year it got better. The third year, I'm like, wow, it really jumped. I'm like, okay, now let's go hunt it. So
yeah, most people, that's a hard pill for some people to swallow. But I could imagine, would you say that farm was probably like a 2 out of 10 with how it sat when you bought it? And then
I shouldn't have bought it. I mean, the only reason why I bought it was because it was cheap. And it was in a good area. But far as a habitat, most people would have said there's no deer here, which there wasn't much. But I loved the area, and I knew that with the south-facing slopes and the access and all that, I'm like, if you can create this, it'll come. They just had no reason to stay. They were transit. They were going through there. And that's one thing you got to realize when you find a property is, do you have transit deer, or do you have deer that are calling it home? If you have transit deer, then obviously the bedding and the habitat is not where it needs to be, because if it was, they wouldn't be transit deer. And so you have to assess that to figure out, how can I create this from a transit property to a true home property? And that's truly through the bedding process. And we can go into that too, but everybody has their, different ideas of that.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. My name is Jake Hofer, and I'm a real estate agent out of the state of Illinois. And it's my goal to help 100 people buy their first farm. Been doing that with the Land Podcast and clips like this every single Thursday and Saturday that are released here on the channel. And to be one of those 100 people, all you have to do is, if you're in the state of Illinois and I can help you, I'd be happy to do so. Number 2, if you want to get connected with someone that can help you, reach out, and I'll be happy to get you in contact with an agent that I would personally do business with. And the last one is, if you just simply learn something from the content we're putting out, or you get inspired to take action, I want to know, get you out of that spreadsheet. I'm on a mission to help 100 people. Until next time, see ya.